Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Welsh Republic podcast, episode 164 today. And I am here with my guest, Heidi. How are you doing today, Heidi? Is everything good with you?
I'm doing as much as I can do, just like what Bob Marley said. The people of this world are waking up. The bad people of this world are waking up, making the day worse for everyone to live. Why can I not wake up and make it better? So I am doing.
You know, you're looking, I have to admit, Harley, your hair's looking nice today. You look dressed. I see you got the Red Hot Chili Peppers, shirt on. They're a really good band. I haven't listened to one of their songs in a long time. What would you say is your favorite song of the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Californication.
Yeah, that's a great one. That is a really good one.
Especially now what's going on in California.
Yeah, it is very true, Heidi. My favorite song of them has to be, I think it's Seppa. That one is a very good one, and that was a really good one. They they were good back in the day. So, yes. Heidi, tell me about your background. You said that you worked in the Syrian embassy in America from like 2004 to 2009. Tell me about that job. So tell us about your background, like how long you were in the embassy for Syria, and tell us what other jobs you do and what is your, connection with politics and stuff. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. Well, any person from the Middle East, politics is in their blood. That's just like a natural thing. I was born in Gainesville, Florida, Tom Petty's town. And, we've always had politics in our household. And being from one part of the world and being born in another part of the world, naturally, I went to school to learn about geopolitics in order to help bridge the gap in The Missing Piece, which is a really good book people should read by Dennis Ross, where in it he writes the documentation and admission that it was always the Palestinians that wanted peace, not the Israelis, that the Israelis always walked away from the peace table. So I was always trying to help gap that missing piece. So one of those things was to go and work for my family's home country, Syria. They're from Damascus. And I went ahead and worked in Washington, D.C. with the Syrian embassy, trying to help for peace as an attaché.
Heidi, so when you were working as an embassy, right, in Syria's government, which is from 2004 to 2009, correct?
Yes.
Great. Yeah. By the way, Heidi, you actually look 10 years younger than how you look, just to let you know that.
Thank you very much. I've been crying for the past 2 days, but thanks.
I understand how you feel. When you were working from the embassy from 2004 to 2009, especially, how you're working for Syria, a country that, is an enemy of the United States. Well, not an enemy because it is an enemy of America, which is technically the United States of Zion. When you were working there, what did you see? What influence, because we all know that Israel has a massive influence over America. What, type of influence did you see in your own, eyes from witnessing, the Jewish, the Zionist influence in America, all of that stuff and the dodginess, that you think people should know, whether, it be for you working for the United Nations and all this stuff. So go ahead, tell me what you've seen.
Well, it's absolutely occupied. We're 100% occupied nation. All I've seen was control, full control and suppression, and more suppression is coming soon now with them taking our rights away one by one. So total domination, control, and occupied nation in Washington, D.C. and in New York. And the United Nations, especially at the United Nations.
So, in your job, what I was meaning, what exactly did you see? What were the stories?
I saw Okay, so when Bashar Assad hired Dr. Ahmed Mustafa, he hired him at the university. He was opposing some of his views, some of Bashar's views. So he said, okay, come on and work for me. I want to reform everything. Me and my wife and my family want to reform everything. So they tried to reform everything. They were very peaceful, always speaking in peace. We did so many things in Washington, so many events like a Gilgamesh. We opened up I was one of the people that helped open up what Gilgamesh was at the JFK Kennedy Center in Washington. So we were involved with many events in Washington, D.C. You have to remember that those were the golden years of Bashar Assad. From 2000 to 2010, he cut the country debt by a fifth. He tripled the GDP. He gave free healthcare, free education, very low employment, as well as New York Times. They wrote an article back in 2003 about the top 10 best cities to visit. Number 7 was Damascus. This was his heyday. And then they did an article on Ahmed Assad in the Vogue. So that just goes to show you and gives you an inkling of how successful he was. Not only that, during that time period, they also did a Zogby poll. And the Zogby poll was to the Middle East, who is the best Middle Eastern president in that region. And it was voted Assad.
He was a great leader. Did you ever meet? So when you were working in the Syrian embassy, right, with everything you've told me, with like the influence that you've seen, like of how Israel just controls America, like, can you share any other stories? Like, for instance, when the embassy was trying to get some work done, like, did you guys have any dodgy figures coming out behind the scenes who were just like stopping you from doing it? And like, you told me about your how you had the connection where you were in the UN, and then you found out like the Saudi Arabia thing, and then how you just wanted to leave. Go ahead.
Yeah, after they let go of the Syrian embassy because they wanted to roll out the Operation Timber Sycamore, and they also wanted to roll out the Clean Break document, as well as Greater Israel Project, they gave a warning to Assad, and they also gave a warning to the embassy, so they had to shut that down. So yeah, I had to get a job right away, and the job was being a producer of El Arabiya TV, NBC. But as naive as I was at that time, I did not know it was owned by the Saudis in the Gulf. So I quit that job right away and worked with the United Nations. With UNESCO.
What was it like working? What was your time like working with the United Nations?
I loved it. I loved every bit of it. I attended 2 General Assemblies, met a lot of heads of states, and it was wonderful. It was the heyday of that time, the General Assembly back in 2003 and 4. Right now, there's no way you can have freedom of speech like you did back then.
When you were working in the for the UN, when you're working there, what would you say was your most fascinating story that you spoke to with someone, like your favorite thing?
I have so many stories, but this one is the most fascinating one of all. I was at home, I was renting a place in Harlem, New York, and I was supposed to go. Hugo Chavez was in town, and he was with Danny Glover, the actor Danny Glover, and I was supposed to go and report on it and go ask him some questions. I overslept.
Oh.
And I didn't have, and I didn't even have my press pass, because you need a press pass in order to go into these functions. And it was at the church, the Harlem church, the church that was there. So they called me, my boss called me, he said, "Where are you? Go get it. Go get it." Danny Glover and Hugo Chavez was there with a bunch of natives asking why are the Americans there taking their oil. But I went in my pajamas. Thank God I had a long sleeve shirt and long pants, and ran to the Harlem church with no press pass, and they still let me in. I met Hugo Chavez, and I met Danny Glover, and did a story on the native indigenous people and how their oil is getting stolen, just like the Iraqis. Their oil is getting stolen. Another story that I have is the very first delegation from Iraq, the very first people ever to speak to the Americans from Iraq. I helped them translate. I was their escort through Congress and through the U.S. State Department, the very first delegation of Iraqis. They didn't want to have no interviews. They didn't want to give and take. They didn't want no questioning. They just wanted a question to be answered. Why? Okay, you took Iraq. You invaded Iraq. But why are the Chinese controlling our oil fields and not us? We are hungry. Can we at least work our own oil fields? That was the only main question from the Iraqis. So it's kind of funny how the Iraqi delegation came, and I helped them throughout the rat hole hallways of Congress and the rat hole hallways of the U.S. State Department. Well, you should really change that name today. Congress, U.S. State Department should be called the Knesset. But at the time, it was, you still under U.S. It was occupied, yes, but today it's like fully like in your face, Knesset. And it's funny how they're asking about their oil fields and how Hugo Chavez was. So you see this whole takeover of of countries' resources have always been in the playbook for eons. Thank you, Henry Kissinger.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask, before we get into Syria, you also mentioned to me about a Richard Gere thing, about you also saw the Zionist influence over Hollywood, of how much the corporations like BlackRock, Vanguard, just, all the dodgy things with Epstein and Mossad having connections of Hollywood. Do you want to share that?
Well, after I left Washington, D.C., and I left New York because I knew the sink was shipping in America, the sink was sinking in America, and I didn't want to be a part of it, because we tried very hard for peaceful relations, but they don't want peace. They do not want peace. When they say they want peace, that is a lie. They don't want peace. So I decided to come to Southeast Asia, and one of my first jobs was drug alcohol rehab counselor, and I did counsel the personal assistant to Richard Gere. And I don't really want to get into all of the personal details, but we uncovered 3 human sex trafficking camps because of his information, and uncovered and went down the deep rabbit hole of what Hollywood is. That's why I suggest people to listen to Californication, Red Hot Chili Peppers again. And really, really, this time, when you listen to it, listen to the lyrics.
Yeah, California, looking at it, it's just the Monday Babylon. Like, it's just whether it be Epstein and Mossad, all these actors, like how they have a connection with the corporations, the Zionist influence. It's disgusting, and the human trafficking that goes on in America, whether it goes on in Israel, especially since Israel, is the biggest place of it's messed up. It's really messed up. And I really think people need to acknowledge that, especially when you look in New York City, when you had the tunnels. That was absolutely creepy too. Like, it's just, and you look at in the past of just how, just all the rituals, I know that other religions have done it, pagans have had their problems. Christians have definitely done bad things too. But look at all the things, the Zionists and the Talmudic, Jews have done before. It's just unbelievable. It's just absolutely.
Well, yeah. Cat Waters and Jaguar Wright, if you guys can Google them or YouTube them or whatever them, you will find they uncovered everything with P. Diddy and the tunnels between P. Diddy and Hugh Hefner's home, and under the Getty's Museum. So when you take a look at what happened to Los Angeles, it's the same landmass as Gaza. So, whatever you sow on this earth will be whatever seed you sow on this earth will be sown. And also the tunnels in New York City. It's all the rape and all the satanic rituals, and how long has that been going on? Do you know what I mean? Like,
years. It's been going on for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. Heidi, sorry if I'm struggling a bit because I got anxiety and I get nervous with my shows. I never read the Talmud. And, I understand you can argue the Bible's got its problems, every other religion. But I just find it so fascinating when a lot of, conservatives and a lot of people like who worship Donald Trump and think he's going to say freedom of speech. But then, you look at Israel and you look at the Talmud and what the Talmud says about Christians, how Jesus is basically burning in hell, burning in shit. Sorry, pardon my language, I shouldn't have said that. But and also not to mention how it says, that how the Talmud allows pedophilia, it allows adultery, it allows this, and what, a lot of, these extreme rabbis say about Jews, what they say about, Gentiles and Goyim, and it's disgusting. And it's just and when I say this, I'm not saying all Jews, because Talmudicism has nothing to do with Judaism. Talmudic Judaism is fake Judaism, because there are Jews who are very peaceful. They hate what Palestine's doing, and they despise, because they despise what, Israel's doing to Palestine. And Israel, if you think about it, is the true Talmudic state. America, if you think about it, after 1913, when it became, a corporation from the Federal Reserve, it basically became the United States of Zion, technically, the Talmudic Empire. And the Talmudic Empire, where the headquarters of it is in the greater city of London, and you've got the Vatican, which is the spiritual capital of it, and then you've got the Federal Reserve, which is the District of Columbia, the military capital. So and it's so messed up, learning about the Talmud, learning about how people listen, Trump supporters, if you really think Israel is your greatest ally, go read what the Talmud says. Go look at the way Christians get treated in Israel. Like, for real, goodness sake, it's sorry about that. I have to bring it up, and not to mention.
Absolutely. I agree. And don't forget Masonry. Another really good book to read is Freemasonry in the Ottoman Empire. That'll also explain all the Balkanization and all the satanic rituals that has been going on for decades in the Middle East.
Yeah, and it's just it's incredibly messed up. Like, Heidi, when you look at the Talmud, what is the most thing that disturbs you the most, especially when people say, "Oh, Israel's our greatest ally" and all that stuff? And what would you say? Like,
I try very hard not to look at the Talmud, but if it says all of that stuff that you're saying, and it is, and it's verified, yeah, it's satanic.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you look what's going on to Palestinians, like the IDF, they read a lot of it too. So speaking of that, Heidi, sorry about the rant about the Talmud, but speaking of that, Heidi, so let's go on to Syria. So what is happening in Syria at the moment? Like, what has been, the developments? What is going on? Like,
yeah, I don't see, there are no developments. It's mayhem. If you've ever seen the movie Gotham City, the new Gotham City series on Netflix, it's Gotham City on steroids is what Syria is now. They've been demilitarized. They're going into villages, de-arming them, no arms because of control, starving them. They're on the calorie plan to starve them, taking their oil, taking their wheat. No, there are no police to police. So if someone comes into your home and robs you, you can't call. There's no police force. There's no police force, so it's on you. A reason why that they're disarming civilians. So this Giuliani guy, he's one of the 180,000 men that the UK, USA, CIA have hired to bring down and roll back Syria via the clean break document, Greater Israel Project, Oded and plan. So he's one of those hired guns, and he was in Iraq, supposedly let out of a prison, killing, maiming, raping, and head chopping. And now he's wearing a suit. You can't change someone like that, like a terrorist wearing a suit, acting as a president and meeting with people around the world. Switzerland and Germany are waking up to the fact that this puppet is a joke onto humanity. And it's an Islam that we've never heard before. In Syria, we've never had any sectarianisms. We've never asked people, what is your religion? They ask. If you're driving and you're going to a village, they'll ask you, are you Sunni, Shia, Alawi? What are you? You better not say Shia and Alawi because you'll get your head chopped. You'll get raped. You'll get murdered. Your family will be kidnapped. Yeah, that's what's going on right now. It's mayhem. It's Gotham on steroids.
What is one of the stories that you've heard, recently from what's going on in Syria, like from you've heard of interview, because you hear the Western media saying stuff like, oh, it's great, it's peaceful, when it's really not. What's one of the stories you've heard from people that what's going on?
Yeah, because I'm a lot also in the Arab spaces. The stories is that they're starting to balkanize. So they're becoming to be more checkpoints throughout the villages when we've never ever had checkpoints. So the balkanization process is in deep. They're doing checkpoints, asking questions. And one story is a lady saying when Bashar was here, we had 6 hours of electricity. Now we have 30 minutes of electricity. And I know some teachers that work there. So another story is that in the schools, and some schools are taking out our history, and they're taking, for example, Zenobia. We can't learn about Zenobia anymore. So they're changing the school curriculum. They're doing everything to be done to bring down a nation and a nation's identity. So those are the stories. I mean, checkpoints, kidnapping, school curriculum being changed, no order, Gotham on steroids.
It sounds like, Gotham, but more of the purge. Like, I've seen some horrific stories, Heidi, of some, kids, like some extremists, like parents teaching their kids to beat innocent people up. And it's so messed up. It's like, it's like Libya.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just remembered another story. They're disarming certain certain classes of family and giving the other people free, here's your free RPGs, here are your free weapons and trucks, going into villages, giving them free weapons and trucks so they can kill each other. Because remember, they fund both sides of a situation, both sides of a war.
Heidi, for an audience who don't really understand what's going here, what is the truth about the new regime that's taken over Syria? What do people really need to know about them, and what are the facts that people should know about them?
All right. Well, all you got to do really is look up puppet regimes in South America, Nicaragua, Chile, Venezuela. This is exactly what's happening in Syria. That's all they need to know. This is a puppet regime with its proxies. So until he gets ousted, and he will, he's not going to last. It's a joke. It's a show, and it's Hollywood. It's exactly what Hollywood does. They tell you what they're going to do. They make movies before they do it. And this is one of them. And they did it through many documentations, many operations, and a lot of money from Qatar.
A lot of it, yeah. What about Jordan, like the new guy, Jordani? Because a lot of people are saying that he's like the Middle Eastern version of Lazinski, pretty much, you know, especially like how he's dressed up, you know, and all that stuff. What is...
Yeah, it's just another puppet player to bring down Syria economically. If you haven't read the book, The Economic Hitman, I suggest you read it because it'll give you facts and it'll give you the way they bring down a country economically. It's an economic hit. And he wasn't elected. And he wasn't even elected. He was just put in there as a puppet. Just like you put puppets in, and just like you need a puppet for your playtime, that's what he's there to play around, finish his role, and then after his role, we'll see what's going to happen.
What is, you know, one thing about Syria is a lot of people say it is the home of Christianity. So I'm a person who wants to learn about Syrian history. Tell us, like, what is the story of Syria with Orthodox Christianity and, like, with it being the cradle of civilization? Go ahead.
Yeah, Syria is the cradle of civilization. The greater Syria, which encompasses Jordan, Lebanon, all that area, the greater Syria, where Jesus was born, is Jesus of Nazareth, where he was born. It is the beginning of Christianity, the cradle of civilization. We still have a village called Malula, which is translated into the entrance, that still speaks and prays the way Jesus does, speaks Aramaic and prays the way Jesus does. So yeah, that's another thing also under Joani. The Christians are also, they're not as protected as Assad protected them. And I'm not giving everything like 100% to Assad. I'm just saying that this is just a plan to bring down their reformations, what they were trying to do, and what they did greatly for over a decade before they rolled in the Greater Israel Project. So yeah, so it's called Malula. It's a beautiful town, and there's still the whole people, the villagers, they still speak Aramaic, and they pray still the way Jesus does. So yeah, everything stems from the Middle East, center of the universe, cradle of civilization, where it was believed that God created Adam.
What about also, what is would you say the greatest church in like that area?
Oh, in Malula, 100%. That's where you go. So hopefully that will not get taken down or destroyed by CIA, Al-Qaeda. Julani.
I understand you are a bit emotional. I can see, you know.
Oh yeah, I've been crying. Yeah, it's not an easy thing. I've been crying for the past, like, let's say 2 months, but you just have to keep on going.
Yeah, you know, that one girl I got to mention here, Syrian girl. I can just she's been an absolutely fantastic advocate for like exposing Israel, exposing the sign of its crimes. It just I can only imagine her pain. You know, just like you going through that, seeing, you know, your country die, you know, it just makes me feel bad, especially for all the people in Libya who lost their country and the people in Iraq too. And it's just, you know, it's messed up, man. You know, and as Syrian girl said, you know, basically what the elite are doing, Palestine is technically the first 15-minute city of the world. It is technically, this is what they all want for, the whole world pretty much. With Agenda 30, the Illuminati agenda, the protocols of Zion, that's what it is.
It's coming to you. It's already in America. We are just a testing ground, just like Florida is the testing ground for the United States.
Yep, that is very, very true. What is it? So with that, what is your opinion about like Syria going forward? How do you see it going forward, Heidi? What do you think this is going to mean for the multipolar world and for the Middle East going forward? How do you see the Middle East going forward as a region? Do you see like the axis of resistance rising? Do you think Israel will fall eventually, or no?
Well, I hope so. I hope, like they did in Mexico when they tried to install a puppet regime in Mexico, the people held arms and started going out on the street and didn't accept it. So really, the future of Syria are in the hands of the Syrians, the real Syrians that are against sectarianism. Are you Alawi, Shiite, Sunni, Christian? We never lived like that. So just like Mexico and other South American countries ousted the puppet regime, that's what I'm hoping for the future of Syria.
Yeah, I think even though when Israel collapses, Syria is going to be in a very interesting position. And I mean, there's Turkey too. And, I read something very interesting about Turkey because I think, Turkey is, because there's a lot of talk about the greater Turkey. Mm-hmm. And greater Turkey is another problem too. That's another thing because they want to try and rebuild the Ottoman Empire. And it's very scary, man. I really worry one day that Turkey's going to invade Greece. I think that's going to happen too. A lot of people, that might be, a war that will happen at the end of this decade.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's see what's going to happen. Every day something new is happening. I mean, we could say what we think, right? But what actually happens is going to be in the people. The people need to take back control. Okay, the people need to take back control both in the United States of America and in Syria, where all these, it's well known and well documented. People can Google this, they can chat GPT it, they can deep seek it, they can do whatever to get the information that they need to get to understand that the psyops that they may have been psyop all their lives is actually playing right out in front of our whole eyes. After this whole genocide of Gaza, if that doesn't wake you up, then you're still sleepwalking, just like in the movie Idiocracy. So really, the power to the people. The people need to stand up. The people need to go outside. When I was living in Washington, D.C., and when I was living in New York and in Florida, I was everywhere but inside my home. I was out. I was out talking to people. I was out protesting. I was out getting signatures. I was out. I was out talking. I was campaigning. People need to campaign against everyone in AIPAC. We have huge Israeli lobbies, and a lot of people are. Like a lot of really good people are doing it. Like Stu Peters, he had a video come out where they go into the hallways, the hallways of the Congress, asking them. That was such a great clip because I really related to that clip because I used to go there all the time to Congress to talk to these people. That's what you got to do. You got to go out.
When you went to Congress and spoke to them, did you have any moment where you were dragged out?
No, not that back in that time, back in 2003, in the early 2000s, it was a little bit more tolerable than it is right now.
Yeah, the thing is, I reckon with that going forward, as we all know, what is your opinion on Donald Trump signing his executive order where he's going to deport anti-Semites and pro-Palestinian? What is your thoughts on that? And knowing that is very dangerous, Heidi, because that's going to lead, because sooner or later he is going to bring in the Anti-Semitic Act, which is going to destroy the Constitution of America. That's going to happen.
Yeah, it's suicide. Freedom of speech, America's suicide. He's selling America. America's been sold out.
Are you okay, Heidi? Do you want to continue doing this? Or
Yeah, I'm fine. I can go ahead. I'm okay. It's just when I talk about certain situations and I talk about things, it really pisses me off because I've been doing this for the past 2 decades, trying to get people to wake up. And then when I hear the new generation and when I hear what's going on and when I hear people still not waking up, it's just so sad what's happening. I mean, here we have Trump now twice. It's a Knesset. You can't even say Congress anymore. You can't even say U.S. State Department anymore. It's not for the U.S. people. It's not America first. It's not America first, it's Israel first, and that has got to change. That has got to change, yeah. I'm like you, right? Don't you say you have like that anxiety? It's just every day something new is happening. Yeah. What are we going to leave the future for our children? Like, really?
Sorry, you're going to say something? No, you go ahead. You're going to say something?
No, I'm saying, what kind of world do we leave to our children if we don't stand up and speak about it? You see? So, of course, it's going to be uncomfortable truths. And it's going to be uncomfortable truth for everyone that wakes up. When I woke up, I was devastated. You mean Israel controls every aspect of my life in the United States of America and in the Middle East? Yeah, it does.
Have you ever heard of the Noahide laws? Have you ever heard about them before?
Yeah, I have, but I don't know how they've been applied. Do you want to talk about that?
Okay, so it's that, Heidi, I find is a bit skeptic. So the Noahide laws, from my knowledge, are basically laws that are like something to do with Babylon and Talmudicism, where basically a lot of people say, when Trump brings in the anti-Semitic Act, a lot of people think that they will come in, but I don't think the Noahide laws will come in. I think the Noahide laws will probably come in when, like, America has an emergency situation where martial law is declared, because that's how the Noahide laws have been. So the Noahide laws basically means, which basically Bill Clinton signed, I think in the 90s, if that's correct. Basically, when that comes into play, what will happen is anyone who preaches the name Jesus Christ, they'll be killed, they'll be put into FEMA camps. Just to let you know, there was a movie called Grey Zone. Now, I'm a bit fussy about Grey Zone. Grey Zone, I think it's called, I can't remember, it's not Grey Zone, I think it's called, I don't know what it is, but the director of that movie basically speaks about how, the America going into martial law, the country going into lockdown. And in that movie, you have the mark of the beast. You have, people having, to be locked up and stuff. And
yeah. Sorry to cut you off, but that was already done when Netanyahu called a Jewish congresswoman in New York so they can vet. And if anyone out there listening, you know that there's a leaked phone call between Netanyahu and a Jewish congresswoman asking, "Are you sure he's good to select him? Is he the Messiah?" She said, yes, the people love him. He is. So there was a vetting process for the selection. Remember, everyone, it's not an election, it's a selection. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, but yeah, this has been in the works in American politics for a very long time.
Yeah, like I was saying, the Noahide laws, when they do come into play, it's going to be horrific. They basically, it means anyone who preaches the name of Jesus, they're going to be beheaded, they're going to be put into FEMA camps. And it goes into this movie, and in this movie you see a scene where you have someone wearing a Freemasonry mask, and for the director to die from that movie, from him to die all of a sudden at his home, is very, very strange. Because that movie was obviously hinting to the point that this is what they're going to do in martial law in America. When they bring in the martial law, whether it be in civil war or an economic crisis, they are basically going to bring in Christians or bring in anyone to a FEMA camp, and they're going to kill them or behead them or just shoot them. That's what's going to happen. It's basically going to look like the Armenian genocide and the Native American genocide, except a Christian version of it. That's what it's going to be like. It's going to be insane. It's basically going to be what happened to the Germans, after World War II. Now, I don't believe the Soviet Union. I don't believe in the drape of Germany. I do believe, sorry if you might disagree with me on that. That's fine. I do believe the Soviet Union treated the Germans better after, they took their side. But look what happened to the Germans in the British and American side. Look what happened to, Berlin. The bombing of Berlin was absolutely horrific. What happened? It was it looks like Palestine right now. And also not to mention Eisenhower's death camps too. It was so messed up. And that's what it's going to be like. It's going to be a Christian genocide basically done on the level of an Illuminati thing. That's what it is.
Yeah, hopefully those plans will be crushed. And the only way those plans will be crushed is if we unite. Remember, everything is about division. Everything is about not uniting. Everything is about everyone always fighting and arguing. When people unite, just like they do, I always say, think of these two words when you think of them: organization and location. because they are the real estate agents. They think they are. They are the real estate agents of this world. So organization and location. So you have to get organized with the people around you, with the community around you. So these play and do awareness campaigns. So things like this stop persisting and stop existing. I'm echoing. Is that all right?
Is it okay? Is it not echoing anymore?
Not no more.
Yeah.
Now it is. It's still
It's doing it again.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me sort that out. You can keep talking. Hang on.
Yeah, sure. That's what I was just saying. During the July times, I mean, they rebranded it so many times. It's kind of like annoying because it's really echoing.
Oh, it's not very good. Hang on. Keep going.
Yeah, because I hear big feedback. Yeah, so there's only so many times you can rebrand a terrorist. It's only so many times you can play out the Henry Kissinger playbook, right, of regime change. There's only so much that it's got to be stopped some way, somehow. People need to get educated and go out there. Many are, but we need more.
I'm just trying to look for something about the Noahide laws. This is very irritating. Sorry about this.
No problem.
Yeah, no worries. Hang on. Let me just get this. Yeah, you got anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think that's it. Unless you wanted to talk about anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, you see you saw what's happening in America. They don't get. I mean, are they getting? And anyone out there in North Carolina can tell me if you got any kind of assistance. I mean, are you finding people dead in the trees? I mean, your homes are gone. I mean, where are you guys? You guys living in FEMA camps, or you guys living in hotels? I mean, what's going on, people of North Carolina? That's what I would like to know. And I also would like to know, like, how much money is it going to take for California to be rebuilt? And are we going to stop sending a whole bunch of money to a whole bunch of different countries and get that thing built? And how long is that going to take? How much money does that take? Is Israel going to help us build that? You know what I mean? Like, our best allies, our favors go vice versa. So yeah, there's a lot of Gaza coming to you type shit happening in America. Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss on here. I tried hard not to, but
you're all good. Don't worry about it. I also read, that with the LA fires, they even wanted, it was planning to make a smart city there in 2028, and it's starting up again. And the fires are really bad, man.
Yeah, and another thing, it's so funny how when they went in December to take down Syria, at the same time, parallel, they're sending a free gun for hire insurgency from South America into the United States of America, also to start chaos. This is another book that I suggest people read is Chaos. This is how you understand everything about how they take things down, how they manipulate you, psyops you, and so on. So this is a great book to dig into, Chaos. By Tom O'Neill.
What would you say about Kabbalism? What do you think that people should read about that? Because I'm not really aware about. Can you tell us more about Kabbalism?
Well, I just read anything to do with Freemasonry and Freemasonry in the Ottoman Empire. If you can get a hold of that book, that will tell you everything that went on in the Middle East. Because everything that happens in the Middle East eventually comes to the United States of America. Because Israel is, part there and part here.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, anything that you see happening there will happen. So it's the Knesset. It's not an election. It's a selection, and it's not member cabinets of Trump, and it's not the Congress, and it's not the U.S. State Department. It's the Knesset.
That's what it is. And just going back to that, as we all know, in my opinion, how I look at it, Donald Trump, as we all know, there are a lot of, rabbis who are saying he is the champion of the Noahide laws. He is the Messiah. You've got many weird, fanatic people saying that. And, he is the one that is going to build the third temple. Not to mention Jared Kushner, is building real estate in Palestine. And not to mention, it says here that there's a book basically that says the rabbis, Donald Trump, the third temple. That's crazy. It's just like, what is going on there? And it's not to mention, The Freemasons and Israel have been planning, America have been planning to do that for a long time. You even have coins of like the Donald Trump coin of 70 years of having the third temple. What is going on there? And it's absolutely messed up. And it just goes back to the Noahide laws, just seeing that craziness, just seeing, all of these people saying that Trump is, and not to mention how Donald Trump wants to take how he wants to take Canada, how he wants to take, Greenland, which is all a part of the, globally. If you look at if you look at a map of like the Club of Rome, even though I don't think, Russia and China's, section is going to be done, because I do think Russia and China have defeated their side of the elite, but I think they're trying to do it with America. In the Club of Rome, the North American Union. And then, especially when you got like that, with all of that, you've got Trump wanting to take Canada, him wanting to take Greenland, and it's crazy. And not to mention, Elon Musk, how his grandfather was a technocrat. His grandfather was a technocrat, and how there's a book that talks about the North American Union. And it's like the elite want to make the greater American Union, which is the United States on Zion on steroids. Then you've got Trump, who wants to bring in the anti-Semitic Act, which is going to turn the United States of Zion into the United States of Zion on steroids. And you've got the Noahide laws, which he will activate when America does, go into martial law. Now, we don't know if they'll be activated. It could be a conspiracy. But if we end up seeing a situation where in a martial law in America, where they're lining up people, putting them into FEMA camps, killing people, like especially knowing how this depopulation plan is all part of the WF and stuff, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't honestly be surprised. Now, just to let you know, this is what the Noahide laws are. The Noahide laws are from the Babylonian Talmud. The Noahide laws are from the Babylonian Talmud according to 906 of the Jewish Encyclopedia. And basically, these laws are universal, and these are blinding to Gentiles only. And not to mention, it says here, that, like, for example, why did, a lot of the fake Jews hate Jesus so much? In Israeli and intermediate school students are bidden to use the phrase, like the Christian cross. They can't say that. And also the slur, whatever, I can't say it because of YouTube, is basically rooted in their dislike for Christians too. It's like, and yeah, it's insane, man. It really is insane. It's really scary times we're living in. We're getting, I think personally, the world is moving to the multipolar world. I'm glad that Putin is defeating, Ukraine and Russia. I do think, he has put a stop to Syria 2.0, because that's what Ukraine was going to be. And I do think he has put an end to the Israel 2.0, which is what Lazinski wanted to make it. And I do think that China has defeated the elite. But America, I'm worried about it. I'm worried that America, we are going to have an economic crisis, but I'm worried, that with Trump and having all of him around him, he is the walking snake. He is the, he's not the Antichrist, but he's basically what it is. He is the perfect puppet to the elite to bring in that New World Order, and he definitely will go to war with Iran. That's what he's going to do, And
that's exactly why they selected him. It's going to be really bad for them, because when the boomerang effect comes from spewing so much evil in the world, comes back to them, they're not going to know what to do. So they better take notes of what's happening in Syria and in Gaza, so they can figure out what they're going to do when that boomerang comes running back around their way.
I also think that if we do get a war between Israel and Iran, I actually think Iran's going to win. I actually don't think, I don't know what's going to happen to Israel, but I think what's going to happen is when Israel and America do invade Iran, I think it's going to be a humiliating defeat to Israel and America. I think they're going to lose that war, and that is going to be the thing that just puts them to bed. And I think, I don't know what's going to happen to Palestine, but I do think Israel will collapse because its economy is going to shit. It's economically struggling. But I do believe there will be a revolution, Heidi. I do believe somewhere along the line, maybe Israel will collapse, but there's nothing you can really do about it because it's got nukes, and that's the problem. Maybe Israel will have to dissolve on itself. As for the rest of the world going forward, I think we're living in, the world. I think that Russia is going to be the financial capital of Europe. I think that also China is going to be the world superpower. I think Southeast Asia is also going to be economically thriving. North Africa's rising too. You look at Niger, you look at Chad. They've got a lot of potential, but they've still got problems. But when I look at Western Europe, I think Western Europe is going to head into its Great Depression. Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen.
I agree 100% with everything that you just said. Absolutely. Yep.
Heidi, how long? What do you think? Is your opinion on like with Saudi Arabia? What do you think will happen with Saudi Arabia?
Oh, Saudi. I don't know, Saudi Arabia and the whole Gulf region. Those places are. If they didn't have the oil, they're lucky that they even got the oil in their lands. But if they didn't have the oil, they wouldn't have as much pull and as much say as they do today. And to me, there's Satan. That's what I think. I don't know how much more I can explain it.
Okay.
Wahhabi Salafism came there, brought it to us. We don't want it. We don't want it spread in Syria. We've never lived that way in our civilization. It's like exactly what Henry Kissinger coined and what Henry Kissinger said. And they're helping them. The Saudis and the Qataris are helping them exactly what Henry Kissinger wanted. We will make an Islam that suits us.
Yep. Wahhabism. There you go. Wahhabism. That, the extremist version of Islam. Heidi, when you look at World War II history, what would you say was the one thing that when you look at World War II history and World War I history, what is the one lie that you looked at and said, "Oh my God, wow, this is."
I didn't know Germans were executed and genocided the way that they were. I didn't learn that in school. I learned all about Anne Frank. That's another thing. When I learned that there was no Anne Frank's home and diary, it was made up. That's what I learned.
One thing that I found amazing is I'm not a fan of Nazi Germany. I don't like Nazi Germany. They're part of the elite too. But learning about like what went on from 1929 to 1939, where you were having ethnic Germans in like that region of Poland who were being killed, like that, where you like it's very similar. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. But it was so similar to what was happening to the ethnic Russians from 2014 to 2022 in Russia, where you were having a lot of, these Ukrainian terrorists from the Ukrainian army killing a lot of innocent Russians. And, not to mention, what was that thing that happened in 1939 that happened in that border town where you had a lot of, where 57 ethnic Germans were killed? That was really the thing that, provoked Germany into starting World War II. Go ahead.
Yes, exactly. That's the part that we didn't learn in school. We didn't learn real history in school. That's when I was like, what? When I learned that, I couldn't believe it. Because you believe what you learn in school when you're a child, right? But when you grow up, you got to deprogram all the programming. So yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's all a gimmick. Another really good movie to watch is called Europa. And that answers a lot of questions. I don't know if you've seen that movie. Have you seen Europa?
I'm not really a fan of that because I got different views. That's fine. You guys, if you're watching this, you can disagree with me. We can all respect each other.
I mean, there's always disagreements and agreements and everything.
I understand people don't like the Soviets. Personally, I thought the Soviet army was great. I thought they were good. I'm not a fan of the Germans, but all I can say is that what happened to the Germans from 1929 to 1939 was terrible. And there was a lot of innocent Germans after World War II who weren't Nazis who were killed, and they never should have been killed. And I think the fact that the British firebombed a lot of these German cities, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. And when I mention or suggest a movie or I suggest a book, it does not mean I endorse it. Because we all have minds of our own, so it's up to you to agree with it or not, or take parts that you agree with and take parts that you don't. So it's not because I fully agree with everything Europa, not that I fully agree with everything with chaos. However, this is amazing. Yeah. So links even that I post, it's not an endorsement. It's for your own information and education.
That's true, And so this was the thing when I was learning about the 1939, what's it called? This is how you spell it. Denzig massacres. What's that called? The
Zenjig?
Yeah, the Denzin massacres leading up, like learning about the 58 German civilians that were killed. And like I said, I don't support Nazi Germany, but that's wrong. It doesn't matter. And not to mention, a lot of the ethnic Germans from like 1921 to 1939 were complaining to the League of Nations to do something, and they didn't. It's just like what Russia was doing when they were complaining from 2014 to 2022, when you were having a lot of the ethnic Russians that were being killed by the Ukrainian army, and the UN didn't do anything. And it took a long time. This is the reason why Putin did the invasion of Ukraine. He put a stop to that. Well, not invasion, it's technically a special military operation. And this is why he also did it to stop the biolabs, not to mention, the big trafficking that went on, especially with the biolabs in Ukraine, especially with how they were planning to do another pandemic to kill Slavic people. And so, yeah, it's incredibly messed up, man. It's really messed up. And, Europa, the Last Battle, I'm kind of iffy with that. But, just to let you know, Heidi, do you know that I read the first concentration camp was for Russians? It was.
Wow. It's coming. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's coming to America too. The FEMA camps. That's what they are. They're concentration camps.
Heidi,
albeit on a smaller scale.
On a smaller scale, yeah. We'll have to wait and see. But by the way, the movie that I was recommending is Grey State. Please, everyone, go check that out. That is the movie where it talks about the FEMA camps. That's the movie where the director got killed and stuff.
Can you spell that out, please?
Grey State. Grey State.
Okay.
Grey State. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Heidi, I just want to say something. So one more thing before we finish up.
Sure.
What is the thing that you want to share to Syrians? Like, for all the Syrians who are going through a rough time, who are feeling down and out and just want to give up and all that. What do you want to say to them? And bring us a story of from in any history of a brave Syrian warrior, of a battle that Syrians won, that would inspire Syrians to never give up.
Well, I guess I could read it. It's by Mark Twain. If you give me a second, can I bring it out here? I would love to read this. Hold on, let me see if I have it on my phone. And this also gives me so much. Hold on, let me bring it up here real quick. It also gives me inspiration to keep going, right? But can you speak on something for just a minute while I get it up here on my phone real quick?
Yeah. Look, I think, honestly, how I think the people should do, they shouldn't give up hope. Look, Syria is sad as gone. He's a great leader. He did so much for his country. But I just want to let you guys know, if any Syrian is watching this, please don't give up. The multipolar world is winning. We won't win every battle, but we will win. Like China and Russia are rising, the better of humanity's coming. The Rothschild banking system, it is falling apart. And I don't think they'll win. I think a lot of the world now is waking up. They're realizing the horrors. And yeah, have you found it yet?
No, I haven't found it yet. Hold on a second. Because it's okay here. Oh my goodness. It's because it's a very long one. I didn't, and I
You can just keep it. You can just keep it.
It's just Mark Twain talking about how Syria has seen empires rise and fall, and how Syria is the fertile land of all of these empires that are rising and falling, and it still stands. That's the whole point. And it's under Innocents Abroad by Mark Twain. I can't do it verbatim, but I wanted to say we've seen this before. Syria have seen this before. We've seen it rise and fall and empires come and go. Except in this situation, this was UK, USA, Israel puppet regime. So we're going to figure out how to take them out. Yeah.
Well, you heard that first, Syrians. Please don't give up. Please keep fighting. Before we finish up, Heidi, what is the last thing you would like to say?
I would also like to say it's just don't give up. Never give up. It's just exactly like what Bob Marley said. The bad people wake up every day to make this world a worse place. Who am I not to wake up every day to make it a better place? If you're a good person and you know you can make it and you can make a difference, do not give up. Just keep on going. for the children, for the future.
Hi, Heidi, where can people find you?
I'm on X under Heidi La Levantine, Lady Justice, 9111, because it wasn't only two buildings that went down. So.
Yep, that's true. That's true. I was just saying, thank you very much, Heidi, for coming on. It was an absolute pleasure having you. You were fantastic. You were absolutely brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I just want to say to every Syrian, look, I just want to say to any Syrian watching this, please don't ever give up. Like what Heidi said with that Mark Twain quote, you guys will get through it. Syria will rise again. Palestine will win. It is going to be a rough battle, but we will win. And, you know, this evil in the world, it's going to die out. You know, evil loses. They're not going to succeed with the Greater Israel Project. They're not going to succeed with, what they're going to do. They're going to fail. And I can tell you that. And I just want to say to everybody, thank you for joining the Welsh Republic podcast, episode 164. God bless you all. Free Syria, free Palestine, go Russia, go China. God bless the multipolar world. And also, free America from Zionism, free the West from Zionism, and also free Palestine. Take care, everybody. God bless you all. Thank you for coming on, Heidi. It's a pleasure having you. Take care.
Bye-bye.